the expectation is that the Holy Father present full and complete apology to Indigenous peoples on the territory in Canada. It is welcome news. Full, complete recognition of the harm caused by the residential schools operated by the Catholic churches is the first step in a process of recognition of harm done and a step towards reconciliation, which includes reparations, and that I think is the natural next discussion. First and foremost, as the head of the Catholic Church, the Holy Father's recognition of such is key in a full and complete way in front of Indigenous peoples who are either suffering, who have suffered the harm, or suffering in silence, or are suffering intergenerational trauma. There is that importance of the symbolism, which has real and concrete repercussions for how we move ahead as a country. As a non-Catholic, I have a lot of discomfort, and I've been quite clear on what I expect the Holy Father to do with respect to Indigenous peoples, but imposing conditions on a religious order as a minister of the Crown is something that I do with a lot of trepidation, and I think all these things can be discussed. And obviously, the request that have been made is quite clear, and I truly believe in the good faith of the Holy Father.
I want to make it clear that we expect that the Pope should apologize for the wrongs committed by the Catholic Church against Indigenous people, particularly in residential schools. So we expect an apology, but an apology is not good enough. The Catholic Church also is responsible for compensation and should provide that compensation to survivors of Indigenous residential schools. And finally, we also know there's many documents that the Catholic Church has still not provided to give closure to families so they can know what happened to their children. That's another element that we expect to see. And it's also important, it ties in very well to the deadline on Friday. The court case right now that the Liberal government's fighting, that Justin Trudeau's fighting, is effectively fighting the survivors, the children of these survivors of residential schools. So these kids are the survivors, children, and they're facing discrimination, and this Liberal government is fighting them in court. So it's an ongoing legacy, and they need to end the legacy. They need to stop fighting these kids in court and comply with the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal and deliver justice.